All you're going to need is a pumpkin, some items from nature, and your imagination. I wish I could say that this was my original idea, but I actually saw it on TikTok from another creator. And although I had another craft project in mind, we ended up with this immediately once I saw it. Today we're going to make a fairy pumpkin house. I had some of these wooden discs that I had used for another project, so I decided that was going to be the fairy door. I traced the disc on the pumpkin and then I cut out the hole. My sponsor's over there creating her architectural masterpiece. I caught this guy lacking, watching TV when he's supposed to be protecting sacred space. He only had one job to do. I know that I say this every episode, but I absolutely loved this project more than any other. These are the times that we catch up on our normal day lives and discuss current events. We had talked about how our voice sounds different on a video, and I was sharing how much I disliked my voice with a voiceover, and that I do it in the middle of the night, usually when it's not busy around here. And she agreed, which totally, which totally made me insecure. And I decided to start doing the videos during the day so that you could hear how I really talk, because I do not talk like the voiceover that you guys hear normally. When I do it at night, it's really quiet in here, and my son is asleep, and it makes me sound really sultry, and it it gives me like a draw. So for those of the people who know me are probably thinking, "What the hell, Christine?" And honestly, that's what it is. It has nothing to do with me trying to change my voice. And so I am doing it during the day now, and I will not be mocked by my sponsor as we move on in the future. I'm also not half asleep either. So now that we've cleared that up, if you take a look, she started putting some sticks that we had gathered into her window, and so did I. I had a package of valerian root, and I took a piece and put it on the door to create a bell for the door. I came up with an idea afterwards that I am totally going to do next year, and that is take one of my dried slices of oranges and putting it in one of the holes and making it a stained glass window. I got this really great tip from a friend of mine, and she said if you take Vaseline and put it on all of the raw parts of the pumpkin, it will make it last longer. And if you add cinnamon, it makes it smell really good too. And it's one of the best tips I've ever gotten. So if you want to follow her on TikTok, her name is Liza, and her name is Haunted Dream 78. I added a charm that I had of a tree on the door of the fairy house, and Laura began to place some leaves on the roof and the windows of her pumpkin. And then I decided that I wanted to add a little ladder to get to the door. All I did was take some sticks and a glue gun and place them in the right places, and then I took some of the string that I had and used it and glued it to a couple parts of the ladder. And this was the final project. I hope you guys like it and that it inspires you to make a pumpkin fairy house too. I've added another project special for Samhain, and that is Ancestor candles that I make. If you've watched any of my past projects, I talk about the flowers that I gather for every Sabbath, and then I keep parts of it and keep it in this jar on my altar until the end of the year, and then I take all of them and I gather them for different enchantments to empower them and to make ancestor candles. It's really important to me that I make crafts that are economical for everybody, and so I came up with something that I thought that would be affordable for most people and doesn't require a lot of work. And if you can't gather the flowers and herbs like I do for every Sabbath, go out and pick some that are special to you, and that will work too. What I have is a package of emergency candles that I get at the dollar store. They last a long time and they make a great base for a candle. In fact, I used these all of the time before I had my own shop. Speaking of my shop, we have our brand new website that will be opening on Samhain night at midnight, and I will post the link in the description, and it's an oldfriendstudio.com. You will be able to click the link and get through on the 31st at midnight. Because we are doing this on our own, we are only opening the retail part of the shop, and you can get my ancestor candles if you would like one. They will be made on Samhain morning, and there is a limited supply. But we will be adding to our shop every month, and we will also be adding to the website and having different workshops, events, and creating a community of like-minded spiritual people. This is a dream come true for me, and it couldn't have been possible without a lot of incredibly talented and creative people that I know, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart. But what's most important to me is being able to help other people who have it a little bit harder financially, and I want to be able to give back to the community. So I'm going to teach you how to make a very economical but very powerful ancestor candle for yourself. You're going to want to collect herbs or flowers all year long, or if you're going to do this last minute, just gather some flowers or herbs and place them on your altar and dedicate them to your ancestors. Now, the ancestor candles that I do sell are done in a different process, but the effects are the same. And you would do the enchanting after you get the candle. You want to gather all of the products that you're going to need, and I will leave that in the description below. Make sure you have everything that you need, because then you're going to create a sacred space. If you don't know how to do that, go ahead and leave me a comment and I will give you the instructions. I will also have that on my website. It won't be when we open on Samhain, but it will be eventually up there by the end of the year. In fact, all of the projects that I do on YouTube will have the instructions on my website. I also add herbs that I really like. One of them is mandrake and the other one is lavender. It doesn't matter what you choose, just choose something that you like. Or if there is something of an ancestor that you know what flower is their favorite, you could add that to it. You can even Google different herbs for ancestors, and they have a wide variety for you to choose from. I have never used fresh flowers, so that may be an option. I have no idea. I've always used mine dried out, that I've dried out all year long. If you have, please leave me a comment and let me know how they work for you. I then gather some of the flowers and herbs from the jar and place it on a wax paper. I will hand crush some of the flower petals and the herbs, but I don't use a mortar and pestle because I don't like it that small of a piece. I like it to have a bigger chunk to it. I like the aesthetics of it better. So I either will use my hands, or then if I want to make them a little bit smaller, I'll use scissors, but that's it. I don't want them crushed tiny. I want them to be noticeable on the candle. You are going to want to create an enchantment to say while you're making the candle. Now, I have one that I have that's my family's, and I will share that with you. But creating your own is the best way to go. It's always more powerful when the words come from something that you've created. And it's at this point that you say the enchantment. And put some saliva on your fingers and wipe it onto the candle. And you want to put it towards you. And you will say, I call on my ancestors, both far and wide. Come to me by my side. I need your guidance. I need your faith. Stand with me now in my sacred space. Show me what's hidden and kept from me. Expose ill will with clarity. Then show me those who are pure and true. That is what I ask of you. Show me clear insight of what I need to see. As I will it, so mote it be. You want to take a lighter and you want to start warming up the side of the candle with the flame. Then you want to roll it in the flowers and the herbs. And when you pick it up, you will see that it'll stick, and you can shake some off, and what stays, stays. And then you do that all around the entire candle. Once you get the amount of herbs you want on your candle, you're going to take your candle that you lit at the very beginning that let the wax melt. And I usually use a candle that has a fragrance to it. And then I pour the melted wax on top of the herbs to seal it to the candle. Now, for video purposes, I did this with a spoon, but behind the scenes, what you don't see is I take the glass bottle and I pour it onto the Ancestor candle. But for safety concerns, we're not going to show that. And I'm an Aries, and I don't have time for all this. I'm too impatient. When you've sealed the entire candle, you'll have it'll look like this. And just so you know, the more herbs on there, the bigger the flame's going to be once it hits that. So depending on your preference, you might want to take off some of the herbs while it's still soft. And then the candle is ready to go. I usually will hold it in my hands and do a prayer before I light it. Make sure that you remove your sacred space and thank your ancestors for assisting you during this ritual. And you've made a very economical ancestor candle. You can even make a bunch of them and give them away as gifts, which is something that I will do with some of the candles that I make. They're great to assist you in any kind of tarot guidance that you're reading, and or when you're meditating or scrying. While I was making this content, I remembered that I had an old paraffin wax manicure set from a couple of years ago that I pulled out. So I researched it, and everything was okay to use as a candle, and I decided to try using it, dipping some of the candles in this instead of using the wax to pour over it. And I know it looks really dirty, but I was making candles before I started recording. And this is what we did. We took a regular candle and dipped it into the paraffin wax and then laid it on top of the herbs. And it picked it up really well. And you could touch it because the wax wasn't hot enough to burn you. And I felt like this was the safest way to do this. And you could pick up any of these paraffin wax machines at a Goodwill or a garage sale. People are always getting rid of them. And as you can see By the looks of it, it's already filled with herbs, so this will only be used to make personal candles for myself. But I loved it, and it worked out really well, and it was really quick. And when you set it down, it sticks on the tinfoil. We ended up making a couple just so that we could try them out, and they turned out really well. And I know it looks really awful from there because it's dirty, but this was just a sample run to see if it would work in the future, and it's definitely something that I'm going to be doing in the future. And we burned the candle, and it burned perfectly. In fact, it burned better. The only problem is that it doesn't have a fragrance to it. So, you pick your poison. If you want something that has a little bit of a scent to it, use the original way that I showed you. Or you could go ahead and do this. And it is done literally in seconds. Now, we had more footage, but this was the end of the night, and I was getting tired. And I turned it off when I thought I turned it on. And then when I turned it off, I actually turned it on. And this is the footage that everybody got. Yeah, didn't even realize that until I went to edit it today. So we got a upside down version of my cat and an upside down version of Laura with her candle. Sorry, sponsor. I'll keep coming back. We had been doing it for hours. We've been doing magic. And so this was the end of the night, and I was so excited about the idea of the paraffin wax machine that I just pulled it out. Like, it had been sitting for a couple years, and I never even got a chance to clean it up because I didn't know if it was going to work or not. And then when it did, I was so excited we recorded it. I usually will take a week or so to think of the idea, then come up with the plan work. But this happened like within minutes of my sponsor getting there that day, and I just wanted it recorded. I did a spell and burned one that night, and this lovely lady came to visit. I don't know who she is, but she looked like a goddess, or maybe it was my great grandmother, Stella. Whoever she is, she's definitely magical. I hope you have a magical Samhain and enjoy your ancestors as much as I do mine. Until next time, stay blessed, sweet souls.